Hello, everybody. I'm so glad that you are joining me here for Better Reading. My name is Kate Mildenhall. I'm a writer and I'm also co host of the podcast, The First Time Podcast, where I get to speak to Australian and international writers with my co host, Catherine Collette, who's also an Australian writer. I am very excited about telling you about some of the books that I have been reading and also my latest book to come out. And I really, really want to hear what you have been reading as well. I'm joining you today from Hurstbridge, which is on Wurundjeri country. I just want to acknowledge that country and pay my respects to elders past, present, and future, and to extend that respect to the elders of the places that you are joining us from today as well. A little bit about my books before I get into this enormous stack that I have next to me. This is my latest book, The Hummingbird Effect. It's just come out. I am midway through a very fun tour around parts of Australia at the moment, which is very exciting to be out there meeting booksellers, but also, must I say, buying a lot of books and adding to my to be read pile. Hello, people. Hello, Carolyn. Your reads for the last week have been The Exhibitionist by Charlotte Mendelsohn. I don't know that one. I'll add it to the list. And The Lost Man by Jane Harper. Massive fan of Jane Harper. And I think that The Lost Man is actually my favorite, I have to say. I'm not sure which of you are big Harper fans and which ones are your favorites, but The Lost Man is certainly my favorite of hers. Delightfully for me, Jane read The Hummingbird Effect and loved it and offered some very lovely comments about it. This is my new one, which is spans the 200 or so years, more than that, I think, from 1933 to 2181. It's a story of various women who I grew to love so much, and the labour and loves of their lives in different times in Australia. So that's my latest book. You might know me also from my first book, Skylarking, which came out in 2016, which is straight up historical fiction based on a short story, a true story, sorry. And also The Mother Fault, which came out deep in lockdown in 2020 and is also why I'm loving so much getting to meet booksellers at the moment. Hello to all of you. Look at all these books I'm going to have to read. The cover of the book is beautiful. Isn't it gorgeous? I love covers. On covers too, you might find this interesting. This is the original of The Mother Fault. This is the brand new baby format of it that you can handily slip in your pocket, a new look B format. So that's out now at the moment as well. Hello, Sharon. Hello, Lynn. The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. After finishing Burr Carroll's The Other Side of Her, loved both on the list. And Jessica Gill, you said you're reading Hopeless Kingdom by, and I'm not sure if I'll get this pronunciation correct, Kagishak Achek. You're in Victoria as well. I just heard the wonderful Kate Evans and Cassie McCullough talking about Hopeless Kingdom, which was, I think, on the Miles Franklin shortlist. And they said it was wonderful as well. Dark Mode, Elieta, I'm sorry if I've pronounced that incorrectly. Dark Mode by Ashley Kalajian Blunt. Loved it. Was terrified, I have to say, of that book, but loved it. And The Paris Agent by Kelly Rimmer from Melissa. Thank you. I'm going to have to make a list at the end of this. I wanted to tell you about some of the books that I've been reading, which may or may not be on your radar. The first one is Emily Perkins' Lioness, which just came out recently. Emily is a New Zealand writer, and I've read some of her other work, including The Forests. Lioness is just recently out, set in New Zealand, a woman in middle age, Teresa, who is living a kind of quite wealthy, wonderful life. Her husband gets involved in some murky business kind of corruption. And it's the story of her both rage and kind of coming to a new sense of herself. Very, very good. I really enjoyed it. I could feel the rage. Perkins is such a wonderful writer. So I really highly recommend that to you. Faye's reading Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. I have seen that everywhere while I've been visiting bookstores. I'm such a Patchett fan and I cannot wait to read it. I'm wondering if I need to wait for holiday time. So do tell me if I need to wait for holiday time to enjoy that. Someone else, Sandra, is reading An Arc of Woman of Courage by Tanya Blanchard. Oh, I have an arc here that I wanted to tell you about. I hope that you're enjoying that. Sunbirds by Mirandy Rewo. So this is out at the end of August. You might know Mirandy's other novels. Stone Sky Gold Mountain won a number of prizes when it came out. Mirandy's based in Brisbane. She is an exquisite writer. And Sunbirds is it's historical fiction set in 1941 in West Java. As the war is coming towards the Dutch East Indies, as they were then known. And it's the story of really three characters, Dia, Anna, and Matthias. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And their loves and lives as they struggle to kind of work out their identities in this space and how they're going to deal with the coming war and their relationships as well. So good. Really so good. Other people, I think I've missed one there. Oh, Wendy is reading Sunshine Gardening Society by Shopgirl Green. Don't know that one. We'll add it to the list. And listening to As the Smoke Clears by Zoe Holohan, a memoir. I have been listening to a book as well. I mostly prefer the physical books, but I do switch into audiobook every now and then. And I have been listening to Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which is everywhere at the moment, top of the bestseller lists. Extraordinary book. I don't know if anyone has been reading it. It is the story of a publishing scandal. A woman who takes the manuscript of her dead friend, a writer, and pulls it off as her own. It's an extraordinary deep dive into both the publishing industry, a lot of the discussion of own voices and increasing diversity in publishing, but also the intricacies of the publishing world. I must say it has been quite a wild ride listening to it as I have been on my own book tour. It really kind of puts the skewer in, if that's the word. I don't know if any of you read or are fans like I am of Sarah Bailey, the Australian crime writer. And we were talking on Instagram about our experience of reading Yellowface. And she said it's like reading acid, but fun. And I concur with that very much. Also, Jacqueline's reading The Caretaker by Gabriel Bergamosa. I think that's his new one out, which I haven't had a chance to read yet, but very interested in doing so. And Christine is reading The Seven Skins of Esther Wilding by Holly Ringland, who is such a favorite of mine. I got to speak to Holly for the First Time podcast. It's a beautiful conversation. We both cry in it. And then again with her at Newcastle Writers Festival about Seven Skins. And of course, there's the amazing new Amazon production of The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart, which I don't know if people have seen yet. I haven't had a chance. Ross is reading Say Nothing by Patrick Keefe. A true story of murder and memory in Northern Ireland sounds excellent. And Janine has just read Southern Aurora by Mark Brandy, which is also on my TBR pile. And The Street Secrets of the Huon Wren by Claire Van Ryn. I have seen that on the socials. And again, add that. Yes, Holly is a Sarah Bailey fan. The Collected Regrets of Clover. Kathy is loving that. Excellent suggestion. And Meryl, and I'm going to have trouble with pronunciation here, is enjoying Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I've seen that in the top 10 at the moment as well, adding to list. Holly's about to start my book. Thank you so much. You love The Mother Fault. That is amazing to hear. This is a great one, just a little book of poetry just out. It's called The Body Country by Susie Anderson. Susie's a First Nation writer, and she won the Black and White Fellowship last year, which is something that the State Library of Queensland puts on. I got to speak to Susie for the First Time podcast, and in a beautiful serendipitous kind of event, one of the poems she read on the podcast, it takes place on that infamous grand final draw that happened in 2010 between Collingwood and St Kilda, and she writes about that as well as a relationship that's breaking down. And she's a big Collingwood fan. And when she was on the podcast, we talked about how much she wanted to get this into the hands of the Collingwood boys and Darcy Moore in particular. And another wonderful podcast listener and writer, Karen Comer, whose latest book is Grace Notes is one of them, a middle grade novel. She managed to get us in contact with the Collingwood Football Club and get a copy of this to Darcy Moore. So Susie, I imagine, will be very pleased about that. Okay, what else have we got? Sally has just finished reading After the Smoke Clears by Kylie Caden and gives that a thumbs up. And Kerry is reading There's Been a Little Incident by Alice Ryan, which sounds intriguing. I'd love to know more about that one as well. So yes, if you're interested in getting some poetry into your life, I do believe Victorian Poetry Month is coming up. I know Susie will be speaking in a couple of events, so maybe it's time for some poetry if you're a poetry fan. Another one that I have, when I mentioned Mirandy's book, Sunbirds, I'm going to Canberra Writers Festival this weekend. I don't know if any of you are from Canberra or getting along to the festival. And I get to speak to Mirandy Rewo about this book and also to Paul Delgado about his book, which came out earlier this year, A Country of Eternal Light. This is an extraordinary book. I don't know if any of you have read it. It begins with us meeting Margaret Bryce, who is the narrator, and Margaret is dead. And she has twin girls, and the novel takes us, she lives in Aberdeen in Scotland, or she lived there, she doesn't anymore, she's dead. But the novel takes us back through to 1945 and all the way up to 2021 in Melbourne, as she remembers and revisits parts of her life as a ghost. It's quite an extraordinary story. It has a big plot twist in it, which I obviously won't reveal to you. But I'm so looking forward to speaking to Paul about this. This is the Australian cover, but I do know that Paul has just been visiting Scotland, where this has been Waterstone's Book of the Month, and he's had lots of press and doing things there as well. So I'm very keen to read that one as well. A Country of Eternal Light. Kylie, thank you. Welcome here. Currently reading Home to Echidna Lane by Eva Scott. That sounds good. I don't know, Eva. I would love to know more about that book too. Do keep them coming, your recommendations. Kate saying, Kate adored. Is that Kate Solly? I must say, Kate Solly is here and joining us. I think that you're referring to A Country of Eternal Light that you adored, and desperate to find someone to debrief with afterwards. Yes, absolutely. You need to talk about this book. Also, the same with Yellowface. You need to find a group of people. This would be an extraordinary book club book, I think, as well. And I must say, for those of you who don't know Kate Solly is the wonderful author, debut author of Tuesday Evenings at the Copeton Craft Club. Kate, if that is the wrong title, because I always get it wrong, can you please pop it in the chat? Wonderful, wonderful novel that I enjoyed so much, which has that kind of beautiful, fun feel in it. It's very funny. Kate writes humor very well. Based on a community who is going through some change and crisis, and I just absolutely loved it. And Kate, you have done such a good job in getting out and talking about that book, and it's just wonderful. People, if you haven't read it, read that from Kate Solly. Holly, yes, I hated Jean so much, but Yellowface was great. That's exactly how I felt, that I couldn't look away. It's like a car crash. Could not look away from what June was doing, which is one of those difficult things, isn't it? When you are loving a book, but you find the main character despicable. Kylie's saying Eva Scott's books are brilliant. Okay, I'm adding them to the list. Keep your recommendations coming. I want to throw in a picture book for you. one of the great delights of my life, having come into the writing world, and particularly through the podcast, is the beautiful writers like Kate, who I get to meet and read the work of. And one of my writing buddies and friends is the amazing children's and middle grade writer Zana Freylon. This is her latest book. It's called The Gargoyle. It's absolutely beautiful. It's got illustrations by Ross Morgan, and it is about a very sad gargoyle who goes on a train. Oh, I'm just bringing it over here. A train trip. It is just beautiful. Touches on ideas of homelessness, of friendship. It is just the most beautiful picture book. I highly recommend that you have a look at it. Zana, of course, also wrote the beautiful book, The Bone Sparrow, a few years ago now, which won numerous awards. She's a great writer, beautifully lyrical, and touches on really big ideas, but phrases them and explores them in a way that younger readers can really help with. Kate Solly, Tuesday evenings with the Coped Craft Resistance. That's it. Everybody gets it wrong. She's saying someone recently called it the Tuesday Croquet Club. It's true. It's a long one. It's hard to hashtag, but it is an excellent book that I highly highly recommend. Oh, and Better Reading have a review of The Gargoyle up. Amazing. I wanted to touch on a couple of books that I've got on my TBR pile. I'm not going to turn my screen around so that you can see the books that are spread out all over my studio. The delight of having the podcast is that we get sent lots and lots of books, but I am always about a year behind in my reading. But some that I've got coming up that I'm really excited about. This is a new one, Beatrix and Fred, by, I think she's a Melbourne writer, Emily Spur. This is her second novel. This is published by Text Publishing. And she called this, she penned a gorgeous little note to me when she sent this across, and said it's a weird love story. So Beatrix is a loner. She has a love-hate relationship with her one friend, Ray, and a hate-hate relationship with everyone else in her office, and a genuine attachment to a stuffed canary named Horatio. That's the beginning of the blurb. I'm really excited about reading this one because she said it's quite fun. So that's coming up on my TBR pile, and I would say that that Emily is getting out and about to launch this one and get around in September. So if you want to catch her, you could try and find her on the socials. I'm sure you will. The other one that I've got on my list is a debut coming out. It's by Anna Kate Blair. It's called The Modern. It has the most magnificent cover. I don't know if you can see there, but you can see that this section here, the painting is glossy and everything else is matte. It's just beautiful. Anna Kate Blair is, again, a Melbourne writer, a young writer. This one is set in New York, and I believe it's based on Anna's own experiences of working in New York at one of the art galleries there at MoMA. So it's a bit of a coming of age, a love story. I'm really looking forward to speaking to Anna about this later in October, and also to reading this one as well. Kate's giving us another recommendation. She read The Last Love Notes by Emma Gray, and Lenny Marks Gets Away with Murder by Karen Main. Both were wonderful. I have heard a lot of good things about Lenny Marks Gets Away with Murder, and would love to read that one too. Yes, a new Emily Spur. Thank you, Jo Young. A Million Things was her first, of course, and did really well. And I'm so glad you mentioned this, Kate. Kate is currently reading It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake by Brisbane writer Claire Christian. This was and has been my most recommended book. It is a rom-com. It's body positive. It's fun. It's sexy. It is just a delight to read. It's a book that I press into the hands of people who are homesick, who need some pepping up. She's also got a new one. Claire Christian's latest novel is called West Side Honey, about a character who owns a kind of a floundering florist, and is recommended by her friend to get back out there after a relationship split and start dating. And it is, again, a really fun, really clever rom-com that is delightful. Nicole Campbell is saying she's reading a preview copy of The Disorganization of Celia Stone by Emma Young. I heard good things about that too. I hope that you are enjoying that, Nicole. Kathy is also agreeing that Lenny Marks was a gorgeous read. Julie Ascari, hello. Looking forward to meeting you in October with Amy and Sally. Yes, fantastic. You're reading a Sally Hepworth book right now and mine next. That's exciting. I have to tell you about that event. Dear friend who runs Literary Listings, which is a fantastic website and Instagram page that you can have a look at, that tries to showcase as many possible book events in Australia as she possibly can, is hosting her first literary luncheon in Elwood in Melbourne in October. There are still some tickets left, but they are selling really fast. So I get the chance to speak to Sally Hepworth, amazing Sally Hepworth, about her new novel, Darling Girls, and also debut writer Amy Lovett, whose new book, Mistakes and Other Lovers, not only has an amazing title, but is a really fantastic read. So I urge you to have a look at that one too, and to check out that event. You can find it on my webpage or Sally Hepworth's webpage, or on Literary Listings as well. Kate has West Side Honey on her TBR, and you're looking forward to it. Yeah, so many books. There are so many books to read. I'm so glad that you have joined me here today to add even more books to my to my TBR pile. I hope that you got some new recommendations for your own TBR pile as well. I can see that you are phenomenal readers, and I've got a few more too. My book, again, my name's Kate Mildenhall. My new book is The Hummingbird Effect. It's out in stores now. I have been to a lot of bookstores, so you may even have a signed copy near you. And I'm also heading off to lots more events, to Canberra's Writers Festival, to Port Fairy Writers Festival, to Write Around the Murray. I'll be in lots of different places. You can have a look at my website at events that I've got coming up. And yes, do have a look at Literary Listings. Thank you, Kate, for any other events that you might want to get to in your area. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me today, and very happy reading to you all until the next What Are You Reading? Thanks to Better Reading.